Chapter 5, Part 2, Strategic Sourcing. MSSP, or Managing Strategic Sourcing Process, begins with the development of a strategic plan for the sourcing model. This model recognizes several elements, each of which contributes significantly to a comprehensive MSSP process. To help guide the strategic sourcing process, 5 core principles are recognized as key drivers to achieve the desired level of value. These are, number 1, assess the total value. Number 2, develop individual sourcing strategies. Number 3, evaluate internal requirements. Number 4, focus on supplier economics. And number 5, drive continuous improvement. The strategic sourcing process itself can be broken down into 7 key steps. These are: Step 1, develop a strategic plan. Step 2, understand spend. Step 3, evaluate supply source. Step 4, finalize sourcing strategy. Step 5, implement sourcing strategy. Step 6, onboarding and transitioning. And Step 7, collaborative process improvement. Let's look at each of these in a little bit more detail. Step 1, develop a strategic plan. The most effective way to initiate an MSSP process is to take the time to map out a formal plan for the design and implementation of the process itself. Step 2, understand spend. The planning process needs to develop a baseline understanding of what products and services are being procured, what purpose they serve, and the financial implications of these purchases. Included in this step will be the need to refine understanding of the sourcing needs. Step 3, evaluate supply source. This is a very critical step in the strategic planning sourcing process, as it involves making sure that all potential sources of supply are identified and that useful mechanisms are in place for meaningful comparisons of alternative supply sources. Step 4, finalize sourcing strategy. Prior to embarking on the task of supplier selection, it's important to fully develop a sourcing strategy that defines the parameters of the process and the steps to be followed. Step 5, implementing sourcing strategy. Clearly, the most important part of this step is to choose a supplier, or suppliers depending on the objective of the sourcing decision. The choice of supplier also determines the relationship that will exist between the buying and supplying firms and how the mechanics of this relationship will be structured and implemented. Important factors in supplier selection. Typically, the most important factor in supplier selection is quality. Over time, several techniques and approaches have been developed that address issues relating to soundness of processes, results achieved, and continuous improvement. A few of the well-recognized approaches are total quality management. TQM represents a strategy in which entire organizations are focused on an examination of process variability and continuous improvement. This approach was and is heavily dependent on the use of statistical process control, or SPC, and employee involvement to produce desired results. Six Sigma. Similar to TQM in its focus on techniques for solving problems and using statistical methods to improve processes. ISO 9000. Started in 1987 by the International Organization for Standardization, a primary objective is to make sure that companies have standard processes in place that follow. Document what you do and do what you document. Reliability. Time-definite and on-time deliveries are among the top-ranked factors related to reliability. The importance relates to avoiding production line shutdowns, unavailability of finished products due to lack of materials, and ultimately to successfully fulfill customers' orders in the marketplace. Risk. There are many types of risks, including service reliability. Other types may include potentials for supply uncertainty, lead time uncertainty, and cost uncertainty. Capability. This criterion considers potential suppliers' production facilities and capacity, technical capability, management and organizational capabilities, and operating controls. These factors indicate the supplier's ability to provide a needed quality and quantity of materials in a timely manner. Financial. In addition to price, buying firms are wise to consider the financial positions of potential suppliers. Financially unstable suppliers pose possible disruptions in a long-run continued supply of material. Desirable qualities. The types of concerns here may be extensive, but some of those likely to be relevant include cultural compatibility and supplier attitude, locations of key supplier facilities, packaging capabilities, repair and return services, and others such as availability of training aids, etc. Sustainability. This factor is last but not least in the sense that a commitment to sustainability is regarded as essential in many leading supply chains. Step 6. Onboarding and transitioning. Important elements of this step are the finalization of the contractual agreement, planning the transition process, and receipt or delivery of the product or service. This activity commences with the first attempt by the supplier or suppliers to satisfy the user's needs. The completion of this activity also begins the generation of performance data to be used for the next step in the strategic sourcing process. Step 7. Collaborative process improvement. A very important step in the MSSP process is to establish procedures for regular feedback and communication between suppliers and customers. Once the product has been delivered or the service performed, the supplier's performance must be evaluated to determine whether it has truly satisfied the user's needs.